education I receive and have been receiving since I was in kindergarten, I feel like is not up to par of what they're telling us. I feel like they say they're looking out for us and they're trying to make us do our best, but I feel like that's not the case because they're giving us all these tests which is bearing pressure on us, and they're saying you got to do your best, you got to do your best, and we're trying, but when we don't do our best, they try to blame it on us. I feel like the curriculum they're teaching us is not based on what the standardized tests are based on. I feel like they are just sort of manipulating us. Like they're teaching us one thing, and then on the standardized test is another thing, and then we're the ones who look stupid, and they're saying, "Oh, I'm sorry." I feel like my voice is more stronger than theirs because when I say this, I think more people are going to pay attention to me.
What I'm going to talk about, I have two different things I'm going to talk about. One I'll go with first. I don't think teachers are trained. They might have a college degree in what they're teaching, but like lots of teachers that are young and are just going into teaching aren't trained well enough with students. Like if you're planning to be a teacher or you're planning to teach the young generation, you should already know how to deal with students. Like it doesn't matter like if you have a college degree, that's not even most of what you need to become a teacher. And by yelling and getting on the student's level doesn't help at all because lots of the kids in public schools nowadays don't have self-control. And lots of students believe that teachers should be able to control their classrooms, but I also believe half of it you should be able to control yourself. And you should, by now being in middle school, you should expect like work and stuff. Like we are not that far away from going on to our own lives, and that's a very important thing that we should already have. Another thing I want to talk about is education. If we need stuff to learn on like important tests, like we should be learning it.
Okay, my suggestions on improving our school is that I personally think that education is falling. Teachers aren't as experienced as they used to be, and some teachers don't really care as much as they used to. If you walk into one of my classrooms, you'll see the teachers yelling at students. They don't know how to really control their classes. And well, I think that it isn't our fault how teachers say it's our fault, they're getting fired because we get bad grades because the whole no student left behind rule. I think that's just terrible. It's the teacher's fault. It's not up to us on how I'll say it is up to us sometimes on how we learn, but if you're not letting us learn how we need to learn it, then that's your fault. It's your job to make sure that we learn it, and it's our job to make sure that we remember it. But if you don't teach it to us in the first place, then it's difficult, and so it's difficult. If teachers really did care about us, they would start doing more lessons. They start figuring out ways how to communicate with students without yelling in their faces, without getting everybody all riled up and disrupting the classes. I think teachers need to go back to a teacher's camp or whatever to learn how to control their students.
We shouldn't be learning something that we don't need. What's the point of learning something that we don't need when we're not going to use it in anything ahead? It's not going to help us, and we could be using our time more wisely. That's all I have to say.
Today I will be talking to you about basically the balance between teachers and students today in the Pittsburgh public school system. I feel as though students are 50% to blame for what is going on in today's education, because teachers are supposed to teach, but then again, you're supposed to have enough self-composure to sit in class for 40 to 45 minutes, maybe even an hour and a half, and listen to your teacher and do your work. You have recess, and when you get into high school, you have study hall, and you still have lunch. So there's really no point to sit in class and talk over the teacher when there's other kids in your class trying to learn. There are certain kids in certain places that have to stop school when we do right now because their parents can't pay for it. But then again, it's like teachers, you have to give respect to get it. And I understand that when you get frustrated and you feel like you're on your last straw, all you can do is yell. But, I mean, kids like me, we don't respond to that. Like, if you yell at me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to yell back. I don't feel as though you should have to yell. You might have to raise your voice, but screaming at the top of your lungs is never the answer. I feel as though kids today should be, well, the way certain kids are raised isn't, in my opinion, the right way. But you can't help what parents teach their kids. You can only help them in what they learn at school. So if you teach them that what they learn in school they can carry on into the real world, then I think everything will be better.
Alright, today I'll be talking about the gaps in our education system. It's not like the education we receive is not good enough, in my opinion, because well, I wouldn't say not good enough, but we learn the stuff that we don't need to learn, and then we'll have a test, and the stuff we needed to learn will be the stuff that we didn't learn. So, for example, in my math class, on the PSSA, my teacher admitted that the things that we need to learn, we didn't learn. And so he, basically admitted that the stuff that we learned was not the stuff that we need to learn for the PSSA. And the PSSA is, the biggest test of the year, so I felt like if I get a bad grade, it's not my fault because I didn't learn the stuff I was supposed to learn. So that's all I'm talking about.
I think that some teachers are very they're more outgoing than others, and that's what gets students' attention, that they're willing to do all this just to get us, just to teach us, and that's what I think a lot of students care about. And then I think other teachers who just hand us work and sit behind the desks and let all the kids go out of control aren't as outgoing because they don't care as much. And I think that if you're a teacher, you should care. And so that happens a lot. And then they expect you to finish and do all the work, and then they just grade it and then put it in the grade book. They don't even help enough. They explain it maybe once, and then that's it. So that's all.
My name is Genesis Jetska. I'm in 7th grade at Schiller Classical Academy, and I would like to speak about I would say, in my opinion, that we have a bullying problem in this school. I understand that as a counselor and as principals that some adults may not want to admit the problems just because their main concern is to keep the school safe. I feel that the only reason teachers and just teachers come here is I feel like their focus isn't providing the kids with an education, it's just to get the school open and closed without any problems. The main focus should be education, and bullying sometimes pushes that away. If you're getting bullied in class, you're not going to be 100% focused on your education. And especially if a teacher doesn't realize it and this is happening occasionally, then you're not going to be as focused, as engaged. You need to let an adult know whether you think that's the right or wrong thing to do. It lets people be aware of the problem that's happening.
How I feel about the school I attend today is people focus on mainly all the negative things that happen, but they don't focus more so on the positive things. There are some teachers who would just give you work and sit down at their desk and sit on their computer, but other teachers will stand up and teach the whole lesson and make sure you get it without moving on. And me, as an algebra student, I have to learn more stuff and more complicated stuff, so it will be hard for me to just get work and for my teacher to sit down and give me something that I've never seen before. My teacher, personally, I can say does a good job because he teaches well and makes sure everyone gets it before I move on. But other teachers more so just focus on giving out work and giving out a grade and just getting their paycheck and just making sure everyone walks out their class with a grade. Some teachers teach well, but other teachers teach better.